Welcome, boys and girls. Let me introduce you to Tim C. May, founder of the Cypherpunks, as he tells the story of how cypherpunks spread the word of David Chaum, who wrote the Book of Blind Signatures. They found that David Chaum had predicted that Satoshi Nakamoto would come. This is the Legends of the Blockchain.
Throughout history, technologies of what's called disruption, the printing press, the telephone, birth control pills, have always been run by people who wanted to get free music, they wanted to get Napster, they wanted to get copy machines, they wanted to tape TV shows on their VCRs. They didn't have to be urged to do this, they didn't have to be pushed, they got pulled in. A slogan from the old days of the cypherpunks was, "The street will find its own uses for technology." Typically, these are drugs, pornography, free stuff, free music, Napster, BitTorrent. People will use the tools for whatever it is they want. So I was talking to a friend of mine who basically said, it's too bad that Ayn Rand's old ideas from 1955 or thereabouts were never properly implemented with technology. I believed cryptography techniques were much more than just about encrypting messages from Alice to Bob, sending a signed and sealed message. That in fact, digital money, remailers, data havens, time-stamping services were all very much implementable. I left Intel in 1986, and about a year after I moved out here, a friend of mine put me in touch with a guy doing a thing called an information market. His idea was to buy and sell information on the internet. And I went over to Phil's house, and he told me about his idea to buy and sell information. Things like the best surfboard to buy, the best sailboat. And being a sort of a devious person who just read True Names and was heavily immersed in a lot of this science fiction, I said, Phil, the real market for people buying and selling information is not going to be things like what's the best sailboat to buy. It's going to be proprietary corporate information. It's going to be what's the best PM plant dose on an NMOS transistor. Secret information, pharmaceutical information, corporate information, this is the stuff that's really valuable. I remembered vaguely a paper I'd read the previous year in Communications of the American Association for Computing Machinery by a guy named David Chaum. He discussed digital money, dying cryptographer's net, zero-knowledge systems, and I said, well, here's how this can be done. This can be done using techniques of anonymity, mixes, digital remailers, etc. Rolling forward to 1992, a friend of mine, Eric Hughes, came down to my house here in Santa Cruz, and he had just returned from working for David Chaum in Amsterdam for his company, DigiCash. So Eric suggested that we get together a bunch of the people we knew from various mailing lists and various forums, and that we meet at some point. And in the summer of 1992, about 20 to 25 of us met. This is a time when, ironically, I knew more about crypto than most of the people in the room did. That pretty much quickly changed as they all got up to speed, and probably one or more of them were the founders of Bitcoin. We met all day, all one Saturday, and we talked about ideas, and in the afternoon we played a primitive game called the Crypto Anarchy game. We simulated things like anonymous remailers by using envelopes within envelopes within envelopes, so people could get a feel for how this might work in a future economy, a future system. So we basically played with the ideas, we saw what was needed and what happened, and what could happen. moving back to 1992, the Cypherpunks mailing list was formed. This is around September, about the same month we had our first meeting. And it took off like a rocket. We had 100 subscribers within the first 2 weeks. Less than 6 weeks after the list was formed, Eric Hughes had implemented the first remailer, where one could remail from Alice to Bob to Charles to David, etc., or in any order. Then a few weeks later, Al Finney folded PGP into this, so one could encrypt messages within messages within messages. This is an implementation of David Chown's Mix system from 1982. We had the first actual implementation. As the mailing list went on, became very successful. We had 700 people subscribing. So the 1990s was a period of ferment. Lots of new startup companies, lots of new technologies, the spread of the internet to every part of the globe. And eventually, many of the people in the Cypherpunks and other groups moved on to form companies, moved on to create things. But the digital currency problem lingered for a while. Chom's tried to do this company called DigiCash. Did not work. Chom's company had focused on buyer anonymity. It was very big on an important idea, which is identification systems that don't require proof of personhood. And you may be familiar with blinded signatures method. This is like allowing an envelope to have, say, a sliding window that only shows one's age or one's name, but not without providing anything more than that. The debate on digital currency raged for several years. These were a series of long articles by Al Finney, Wei Dai, Adam Back, Nick Szabo. People were trying to figure out how to solve the cryptocurrency problem. And one approach was the proof of work concept. This is the idea of creating a system to fight spam by proving that you've done a certain amount of cryptographic work, solving a puzzle, and attaching it as a kind of digital postage to your message. So that someone can say, well, at least this person sending me the message spent a few dollars worth or a few pennies worth of effort to encode this message. The list sort of dissolved. I actually quit when several of the sites that were distributing the list had folded out of boredom and fear. And one of the remaining sites said, I'm going to issue a new site and it's going to be called cypherpunks at alqaeda.net. In 2008, 2009, on the cryptography mailing list, the successor to the Cypherpunks mailing list, a person going by the name of Satoshi issued a series of white papers proposing a system which solved the Byzantine consensus problem in a novel way using proof of work. One of the people who worked on this, a guy named Al Finney, was one of the first recipients, probably the first recipient of Bitcoins from Satoshi. Bitcoin has the advantage that the interests of the Bitcoin miners and the users are very closely aligned. All it's trying to do is a distributed ledger that generates a cryptocurrency.